Silhouette, make that fatty video on it. What's up? Welcome to Silhouette Gaming. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. That's all I got. I'm sorry. No, I would love to see your video on the 3 elite specializations that have been revealed.
So now that all 9 elite specializations have been revealed, the live streams have been done, and we actually know what we are going to be working with here in Visions of Eternity, I wanted to share my initial thoughts on what we are getting with this expansion. As I've stated before, I feel like the elite specializations are going to be the primary reason why this expansion is valuable, besides the Battle Pass-esque Wizard's Vault lockout where you get all the juicy skins and items and all of that. You are primarily going to be interacting with these elite specializations, which refresh older content and give you new ways to play. The theme of these specs seem to be following a reintroduction of unique class boons, which is a little cheeky by Arenanet because they went out of their way to remove all of these unique class buffs a while ago. Spotter, Empower Allies, and all of the Druid glyphs, the Warrior banners, all of that stuff used to work the same way a lot of these skills do. And frankly, I think it is a good thing for the game. I like the idea of wanting to bring a warrior DPS over a ranger DPS because they have a unique thing they provide. However, it does feel a bit unfair that they stripped it out of everything else only to reintroduce it here. With that said, let's get to the new specs. For the Troubadour, this is the Mesmer Elite spec, and it looks like they are going to be overtuned to some degree. I feel that Arenanet will be shifting a lot of the supportive power of Chronomancer over to this Bard-esque class, but this class has access to boon extension and distortion share, which was initially available on Chronomancer back in the Heart of Thorns days, and it was absolutely game breaking. There were other elements that existed, like being able to provide alacrity and quickness at the time, as well as 10-man boon caps, so I don't think it's going full regression back to those days, but there still is quite a bit of power creep that is going to be introduced with the Troubadour. The Luminary is essentially Guardian Pro Max with access to a Shroud-like resource, and frankly, it does look interesting, if not a little confusing. Depending on its scaling, it could end up being completely OP as a DPS spec. I like how they lean into the overall feel and thematic of the Guardian, and likely where this class is going to shine is in the open world. It really does feel like it's a mix of offensive and defensive, and it's going to be really good in terms of running solo open world or small group open world stuff. That's where I think this class is really going to fit. The Gale Shot is probably the spec that most people are interested in, and frankly, I've seen most warrior mains take interest in it because of how much more polished it looks than Bladesworn is. And basically, it seems to function similarly to the Bladesworn, except kind of better, and it's on Ranger. And since it is on Ranger, I'm expecting it to get all the love and attention that it deserves. I think this guy is going to be useful in group content for sure, primarily as a DPS, but as a range DPS, which is kind of unique for a Ranger, ironically enough, since most of the time you're running like Axe Hammer or Mace Hammer, Soul Beast builds. So having that range DPS option is going to be kind of nice. The Paragon, this is my currently most fixated class. This is the one that I am the most interested in, and the reason is because I think it is going to launch super undertuned. I'm going to make a dedicated video highlighting the Paragon, but since it's launching head-to-head with the Troubadour in terms of supportive specs, it definitely cannot compete even with that one support class. So how do you expect it to compete with the other support specs? Like I said, there will be a lot more to come with the Paragon. I really want the Paragon to be good and competitive. I want Heal Warrior to exist. I've made 2 separate videos trying to get Heal Warrior to exist, but based on where it's at now, based on what I've seen from the Paragon, it is likely not going to be competitive at launch. And I want to be able to get my hands on this, mess with it, bring it into endgame content, and see what can be changed, so that way, hopefully, we can get some love on the support warrior aspect. The Ritualist. The Ritualist is an interesting class. I think it's going to be really good. There are some concerns about its like weapon building, since it appears to be a ranged power class, and that's good because Necromancer doesn't really have that. I mean, they do have Harbinger a little bit, but it will be a bit challenging to find a good weapon pairing to go with the Ritualist, especially if you don't have Soto. I think thematically the class looks pretty interesting, like summoning spirits and stuff like that. It can end up being really strong in high mechanic situations, so you could essentially summon your spirits and let them do damage while you're dealing with mechanics. That could be kind of cool. But the Ritualist essentially looks to be like the Necromancer's version of Renegade. The Antiquary. Now the Antiquary is interesting, because while I feel like the mechanics and trait design appear to be some of the best in the bunch, the thematics are insanely cringe in my opinion. I wish that they would have just leaned heavily into the Edgelord Thief class and made straight up Naruto summon jutsu, where you summon rats, because on one hand you are a dude on a beach with a metal detector digging up random crap from the ground, and on the other hand you are a Mujahideen freedom fighter ready to end it all at any moment.
What you see here are the Mujahideen soldiers, holy warriors. To us, this war is a holy war. And there is no true death for the Mujahideen because we have taken our last rights. And we consider ourselves dead already.
And I don't think that I can effectively rationalize these two concepts into one thematic. And I know that when I do my annual entry into World vs. World for a rush event or something like that, I'm going to get one shot out of stealth by one of these Antiquary mains, and it's going to like surfboard my body, and then they're going to play guitar in my face, and I'm going to crash out harder than I've ever crashed out in any situation in my entire life. The Invoker. This seems like an interesting spec for Ellie. Summoning different spirit animals and stuff is cool. Lately, the Elementalist has kind of been the king of not being able to see what is going on. Whenever I played Spear and I played Catalyst and stuff, there's a lot of stuff going on. And between the Invoker summons, the Ritualist summons, and all of this stuff, it's going to be interesting to see all this different stuff happening. But when you're in group content, man, there's going to be so many visual effects. And I really don't have anything to complain about Ellie here. I mean, I pretty much still exclusively play Tempest when I play Ellie. So, I mean, it is what it is. I think it's interesting. I think it looks cool. The little lore thematics of it are nice. And I'm pretty sure that all of the downstate skills are staying the same. So I can't imagine the gameplay changing too much with the Invoker. The Amalgam, as a fan of the Juggernaut, I feel like this one is the most thematically interesting. I do like the fact that they incorporated like the ooze stuff and all of the Inquest lore into it. I really like the Juggernaut Legendary, like I already said, right? So I've been kind of cosplaying as the Amalgam, as the T1000 since like 2016. So everyone else is a poser, and realistically, I think it's probably going to be a fun NG spec. I mean, it looks pretty cool. The Conduit. Raza is a fan favorite in Guild Wars 1, so I'm sure that people are going to be really hype about this one. Revenant typically always gets something pretty good in most expansions. I feel like the Legends are typically standalone. They can balance them more effectively within their power budget, so Rev never usually falls into like being absolute garbage. But from a PvE perspective, it's likely not going to overtake Herald or Vindicator as a primary DPS spec, but it might add a new playstyle in PvP, and the whole enhances your other legend thing might be good for kind of hybrid group support options for DPS Rev. So if you have the Raza legend alongside supportive options, it might help fill gaps in your squad without having to like go into a full support. Really, it just depends on how things shake out and what it has access to. And with that, I think all of these elite specs are going to make the game more interesting and more fun. And I felt that multi-classing and exploring builds and messing with the same content in new ways is where I felt most engaged with the game. Hopefully your class got something that you can jive with. And if you're an Antiquary main, which is like one of 3 Thief players in the entire game, you're going to get insta-banned from every group that I make. I don't care, even if you gamble your way to 80k DPS, I'm going to ban you. And with that being said, you guys know the drill. I'm an Arenanet partner. Hit that referral link. It supports the channel, all that jazz. I got a bunch of other links in the description. Check those out. Twitch, Discord, all that stuff. I want to thank you for watching. A big thanks to all of my subscribers and a special thanks to all of my members who support the channel. If you haven't joined Discord yet, you should do that so we can get the memes going. I hang out with you guys on days I'm not streaming or busy doing other stuff. Once we break 25 members, I'm going to try to coordinate something cool for all of the Discord homies. Anyway, thanks again, and I will catch you on the next one. Peace.